What's up, everyone? Kevin here from Skywatcher, and welcome to another episode of the What's Up Webcast. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything from what's up in the nighttime sky to equipment to helpful tips and tricks. And of course, at the end of the month, we have a special guest on to talk about their specialty in the field of astronomy. Now, today we are actually doing a brand new segment called Tech Talk. Tech Talk is going to be a segment that we do probably once a quarter. And that means I sit down with our lead tech support specialist, Alex McClure, and myself, and we talk Skywatcher tech and any questions that you guys might have regarding any kind of issues or questions you might have about your Skywatcher products. And then we'll also go over common things that we find in tech support and give you some tips on either how to address it or how to work through it. So hopefully this is a helpful episode and you guys like it. So before I jump in real quick, if you like what you see here on the Skywatcher What's Up webcast, please go ahead and subscribe. It lets us know we're doing a good job. Leave a like on a video. All these videos generally are live, but they are recorded. So if you ever need to go back and review anything, you can do so at any time whatsoever. Next up, real quick, if you need some swag to go along with your Skywatcher product, or you just want to support the channel, please go over to skywatcher.threadless.com. You can pick up all kinds of cool swag there. All of that goes to supporting the channel and helps us keep this whole project going. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump in. And this episode is all about tech support and product questions. So if you have something that you want to talk about, or have a question about a Skywatcher product, please go ahead and throw it in the chat. This is the episode for you, and we will do our best to either answer that live or we'll get back to you with some kind of answer. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Alex. Hey, Alex, where'd you go? I can't see your camera. I just see Alex. So, it was working a minute ago, I promise, everyone. There he is. So, everyone, this is Alex McClure, our lead tech support, and I've known Alex for, God, it's been longer than I think we know now. Yes. So, at least 7 years at this point. Now, there's a lot of people that probably have talked to you, Alex, either over the phone or through emails. But maybe just real quick, since this is the first tech talk that we've had you on, maybe you could go and just kind of take a minute and... Oh, you have no audio, apparently. Yeah, are you guys able to hear him now? Better? Not? Better? Because on my end, it's showing he has audio. Can you guys hear him now? Because I can hear Alex. It's showing me Alex is here. Oh, boy. How about now? No? Good old Zoom. Yeah, we just tested all of this and it was working, so. Hold on. Why is it not working? Hal can hear him. Can no one else hear? What the heck? It all worked this morning. It literally 5 minutes ago, this was all working just fine. I can hear you. It shows the audio can hear. Working on it. Cool. I don't even know where the issue would be at this point, so. Go ahead and talk real quick, Alex.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing today?
Can you guys hear that? Is that
Guys hear me
better?
at all?
Are we working? We need tech support. Yes, we do. Anything yet?
Ah.
Nothing? Oh,
Oh,
I
hey, there
think
we
that
go.
fixed it. Okay.
Yeah, we need tech support to fix our tech
Okay.
support problem.
Cool. Why that wasn't working, nothing has changed in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So,
Kevin and I just
okay.
talked to each other 10 minutes ago, and everything was working great. So,
Cool. Okay, so welcome to the What's Up Webcast. My name's Kevin. This is Alex. Alex handles tech support. I used to handle tech support. Um, Alex and I have known each other for a while, probably over 10 years at this point. And now, Alex, how did you get started in astronomy? Because this is our first What's Up Webcast with you. I figured it'd be a good time for people to get to know you real quick.
yeah, that's a good question. It really started when I was a kid, backpacking and hiking with my dad. My dad taught like high school classes for a while, science, and so whenever we'd go backpacking, I'd learn about the constellations. He'd tell me about different, Greek and Roman mythology, and all connected with the different constellations and stuff. But it really wasn't until about, I don't know, 12 years ago when mirrorless cameras really started um, picking up speed. And I realized that shooting the Milky Way and stuff had become very easy with the new technology. And so about 12 years ago, I started shooting Milky Way shots and getting more into space. And then it led to visual stuff. And so now I do a lot of visual and astrophotography and really enjoy it. And especially the last few years. We've seen so much things change, and to be able to have that kind of reach out into space and have something to do at night really became a very, very good interest for a lot of us, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I know when I met you, you were working for Olympus as one of like their representative photographers. So you've also done professional photography, and you still do.
Yes.
And now you work with us. So you've kind of bridged over from the photography world into astronomy on a more professional level. And for those of you who were at NEAF, you probably met Alex because Alex was with us this year, and hopefully will be in years to come too.
Yeah, and I found the switch over from optics to optics was a pretty easy switch over. I've been a photographer for 40 years, and a lot of the things correlate, like anything in kind of that engineering background. When you're dealing with one thing, they kind of translate to other things, and we see a lot of that in our industry as well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is Alex. If you guys ever have any questions, you can always call Alex through the tech support line. And if you're ever emailing in, you're most likely dealing with Alex at this point. So the whole point of this new series is to kind of talk about technical, either I wouldn't say so much issues, but common occurrences that happen in tech support and what we get a lot of questions on. So Alex, I know you see more of it now than I do. Is there something lately that has been a topic of discussion that you've noticed? Or should we just...
Well, it's a lot of the same old questions. My mount won't work, or my mount won't guide. Wait a second, will it not guide, or is it not guiding well? We get alignment issues. People call in that they're telescoping, and we walk them through that. We also get a lot of, maybe my mount's making a weird noise. So these are different things that we deal with on a regular basis. And we address them one at a time. And a lot of times when you guys call in or when you guys send me a message, we're going to work on very specific things for that issue. Say your mount is making a weird noise like "rawr," we're going to focus on power. When we hear something like that, there's certain things that send us in certain directions um, to make these to make these troubleshooting things much easier. We kind of have to break it down into little sections.
And I know that brings up a good thing because I worked in Skywatcher tech support for about 10, 11 years, handling all of it before we expanded when we brought Alex on. And that was a common thing and still is. But one of the things I would probably mention is when you write in or email in, I know a lot of people are very frustrated at the initial, conversation because you've been working on it and you've probably worked through a lot of different things, whether it's power, guiding, cameras not working, mounts not, whatever. when you're doing astrophotography, it's a big collection of things that have to work right. And of course, things like ASI Air make that more simplistic. Um, but nonetheless, there's a lot of probably third-party things that are all woven into your system to get it to work. So when you write into us, we understand you've spent a lot of money, and we understand you probably spent a lot of time. But we are starting from step 1, where you probably have been on step 20. So when you do write in, you do have to understand that we are here to help, and we want to help you. And we understand that you're probably frustrated about it, but we're going to ask you a lot of the questions that you've probably already worked through so we can get up to speed on where you're at. And you're going to have to just go through the motions with us so we can get to the point where you're at. So if you have an issue with any of your products, what I would say is, number 1, contact us.
Yes.
Number 2, be very detailed. I don't need to know about your medical history or your family issues or what, anything like that. Just get to the point in detail. And if it's a product that's is under warranty, providing your proof of purchase from the dealer you bought it from, having all of that in one email will make this go a lot faster, because that gives us a lot more pieces for us or Alex to work with.
Yeah, and we're working blind, so we don't know what you've dealt with. We don't know what you've worked through already. So we're going to have to start kind of, I kind of step through it. If you send us all the information, the email chain is much shorter. Usually we can diagnose the problem quite a bit quicker. And if we need to bring the mount in, or we need to send you a part or something, a lot of times that's a lot easier to figure out when we have all the information.
Yes. So, and another thing I would probably recommend is, if you bought your product through, it doesn't matter who you bought it through, probably a dealer, maybe you bought it through us, I don't know. If you're having a problem, don't just go online and shotgun your questions across the internet, whether it's a forum website or to the dealer or to us. Pick one avenue, and certainly not a forum website. Let us handle the problem. Give us a chance to handle the problem before you do a smear campaign across every website and social media platform possible because we didn't answer your phone call in 5 minutes. There's a lot of people calling in.
Our main goal here is to get you out under the stars. We want you out there. We want you enjoying the night sky. So we want your equipment to work. And so sometimes we get people that, I understand you went out to a dark sky location, you had issues. And I know there's an old saying in astrophotography, if you're not having issues, you're not doing it right. But we're trying to end that. We want you guys to have a good time, and we want you guys to have the proper techniques and tips to work through those if you have an issue. I've had issues myself, and recently gone out, set up, went, whoa, something's off. And it was my fault. So basically, I shut everything off. I started from scratch. I went through, I leveled my tripod, I reset the head, I rebalanced, I did everything. And that fixed the issue, whatever it was. I mean, I know what the issue was, but it fixed the issue because I started over from scratch and went back through the whole thing and got it figured out.
And sometimes you have to do that. But what I would say, I know we have one question here we're going to dive into real quick. If you do have an issue and you bought it through a dealer, either contact us directly or contact your dealer. Don't do both, because what that does is the dealer will then take you and make a ticket through us, and then you have reached out to us directly and we have a ticket. So what happens is you end up getting duplicate support tickets for the same problem, and it causes a lot of confusion to where we have to backtrack and figure out who it is and what it is.
Yeah. Now I'm not just sending emails to you, I'm sending emails to the dealer to try to figure out what's going on their end, and if they've done anything, and if it's the same person, because I get people that send multiple tickets, and they'll message the Instagram account too. So now I'm dealing with 4 tickets for one issue.
So if you have an issue, pick one avenue, dealer or us directly. And then if you don't get a response within a couple days, then reach out to the next step. But that's just these are just little tips from our side that will help you get your issue handled in a much more timely and effective route, rather than it getting lost with everything else going on. But anyway, we do have a question from someone, Alex. I figured we could start to dissect it.
Okay.
This is from Eric. I have an SAGTI. It's not paying attention to the position during tracking, and recently didn't realize it had gone past the RA limit and it was going for 5 minutes, not moving. Did I damage the gears?
I don't think you damaged the gears. I mean, we'd have to actually test it and see. And a real easy way to do that is just do a polar alignment, a 1-star alignment, stick it on a star, and see if it tracks. Come back 15 minutes later. If it's centered, the mount's probably running okay.
Yeah, so inside the Star Adventure GTI, particularly, well, actually on both axes, it when you lock a clutch on that mount, basically how the clutch works is it's a compression ring and it compresses down on the axle. It's not really going to damage anything because after enough force, that's going to slip. The clutch will just give. It's probably going to put some strain on the motor at that point because it's having to force it through there. So odds are you're probably fine, but like Alex recommended, the best thing is to just reset it, turn it off, polar align it again, and switch it back on. And if you're tracking, you're good to go. But the gears inside the Star Adventure GTI should all be metal. So I can't really think of anything now that uses plastic gears on our stuff. Maybe the Virtuoso GTI, like what's behind you, but even that, not 100% sure. I'd have to open mine up, but you're probably okay, Eric. I don't think you've damaged anything. And if it is, you can always email us and we'll get it in and check it out. But 99% certain you're fine. So.
Yep. And if it's a warranty issue, again, just contact us on the website. We'll send out your labels and bring it in and have our guys take care of it. The guys in the shop are awesome. They go through, they test everything, they replace boards all the time. This is just normal, stuff for them.
Yeah, you are more likely to damage the motor in that case than you would the gear. But you're probably fine. And he did say tracking seems to be okay. So, yep, you're probably okay. But most of people on our team are astronomers. They use equipment. We want to get you out under the stars just as fast as we'd want our own equipment. We get it. So, but yeah, you're probably okay on that one. Next one comes from Don. Is it possible to tweak the collimation of your EvoStar refractors? No.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. The EvoStars are just simplistic doublets, and the cells that they use are basically just self-centering machined cells. So doublets are pretty easy to keep collimated, so there's not really a way to collimate it. Now the EvoStar 150DX, the biggest one, does have centering screws on each lens, but I would wholeheartedly not recommend messing with a centering screw unless you have a bench and you know what you're doing, because if you put too much pressure on centering screws, you will eventually crack the lens.
And then we got a whole different problem.
Yeah. Next one comes from Roy. I have a Star Adventure AZ GTI. When I go to the sun, it's not even close. What's wrong with the mount?
Well, it's an AZ alt mount. You're probably aligning during the day, and one of the big things people don't realize during the day is that your magnetic north is not the actual north you want. You can look up deviation in your area. I know where I am, it's about 14 degrees. So I just adjust counterclockwise 14 degrees when I set up my AZ GTI, and then I'm usually really close to the sun when it goes. Maybe a half or 1 degree probably off, 2 degrees off. So it's real easy to adjust.
It's the same thing with my AZ EQ5 and AZ EQ6 because I'm starting to switch over to Altaz for solar. And yeah, the big thing for Skywatcher Altaz mounts is you level the tubes and you aim it north is the home position. So like Alex said, if you adjust for not magnetic north, but the deviation in your area, because you're only aligning on one object, so the mount only has so much room to go off of But the closer you are to north from the initial start point, the probably the better your accuracy is going to be for an Altaz mount.
Yeah, and you can Google like declination for your area, and it'll give you the percentage. And then you can just use like you know, hand measurements for your 14 degrees. For me, 14 degrees is about that far. So I hold that up to where north is supposed to be, and I adjust my amount that 14 degrees. It puts me on during daytime alignment, or gets me really close.
Is there a website to look up deviation?
Yeah, you can just Google it, deviation, because I used to use it in sailing when I raced boats and, as well. You had to figure that into your compass course. Deviation. Let me see here.
You can also get just a standard compass, and once you know the deviation, you can offset it on
There
the
you go.
housing if you want to be old school. That's probably a pretty simple thing you can look up online
Yeah,
at any point.
yeah. I put in deviation on maps, and it pops up a whole bunch of stuff. But when you see the, all right, well, this is a little bit off, but it'll actually, you'll see like the US kind of splits, and it's like clockwise on one side and counterclockwise to the other side when you pull up a web page for it.
So hopefully that helps. Next one comes from Ron. The protective cover for my polar scope does not stay in place anymore. On my Star Adventure GTI, the battery packs interfere. Is there any fix in progress to make it more secure? That'll be have to. So the back caps on a Star Adventure, those are molded plastic. Some of them tend to fit better than others. Yeah.
I literally take those back caps off because I knock them off all night long when you use them. I throw them into a box and I forget about them. I get a 1.25-inch eyepiece cap, put a little felt in it, and that's what I have on all my polar scopes now.
It's a good idea. I have to do that because I lose the caps all day long, and even if I wanted to keep them, I take them off at night. I leave them in the backyard or whatever, and I space out about it. But yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually, Alex. That's a lot better. We can talk to the factory about making a better cap, but at the moment, I'm not aware of one. It all has to do with the mold, but there's Alex's little side modification.
Yeah, I just put a little piece of soft Velcro in there or felt, and they pop right on. I use them on all of them: Star Adventure, 2i, the GTI. I've got one on the EQ6R out there, so
Easy little thing to do.
yeah.
And that might not be the most, you know, the best way to approach it, but we'll talk to the factory about making a better cap. I will be talking to them in October, face to face, so that will hopefully be a better thing real quick. So I know we get a lot of questions about like the Evo Star focusers as well, and particularly how to adjust the Evo Star focusers. So hold on just a sec. Of course, you've probably all seen that the fish tank is gone. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna get all kinds of crap for that. We're working on a new setup for these tech talks, and the desk back here, we've got a secondary mic. We've got a new camera that's coming that's going to be downward facing, so when we can do tech talks and all kinds of cool stuff, we'll actually have a full down facing camera setup that'll talk about the entire thing. And yeah, so
that way we go through and make adjustments for you and show you how to do them and stuff. And you know, that's kind of one of those general maintenance things that you really need to know. We buy this great equipment, and there's some adjustments that you need to make over time. Focus adjustments one. And if you understand the focus adjustment and how the tensioner works, it's actually a really easy adjustment. You can put, I think, up to 5 pounds on it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
But yeah, so that's what's going on back here, is we'll have a new video setup for expanding the webcast. But the Evo Stars are some of our most popular little refractors. This is the 72. We make them all the way up to 150, but a lot of times we get requests or we get emails about how just got my telescope, it's not holding, the draw tube is slipping. These are easily adjustable focusers. Um, and they are adjusted at the factory to the right tension, but you have to remember that they're adjusted, they get popped in their case, they get popped in a box, they get shoved into a container. That container gets driven down the road, put onto a ship, crosses the Pacific, comes here, gets back on a truck, goes through the QA process, sits in there, picked up by a forklift, handed over to whatever shipping company, and ships out to wherever it's going. They bounce around a lot.
And you have
Um,
heat, things with being on a ship for 2 months coming across the Pacific and everything else. So, you have expansion and contraction that happens as well.
um, but the nice thing is a lot of times when we tell someone how to fix their focuser, they are actually quite nice. And I'm not just saying that for ourselves. I have telescopes that have feather touch. I've owned Moonlight focusers, JMI focusers. I've owned the. So has Alex. We've had the lot of them. The focuser's not bad once it's tuned the way it should be tuned. So to save yourself about $500 or $600 and not having to go buy another focuser, we can show you how to adjust it. We have what are called field guides that are written up, and here it is. I'm gonna bring this up, actually pop it right over Alex real quick. Boop. I don't think Alex can see this either. But this is an official field guide that we've written up for the Evo Star focusers. This applies from the 72 up to the standard 150, which has been discontinued because all we have is the DX with the big focuser now, which is an Esprit focuser that adjusts differently. But really, adjusting these focusers is very simplistic. On the bottom of the focuser, you're going to have the black housing. And then you have the two tension screws, and then the center screw right here. That is your tightening or loosening screw. And that's all you really have to adjust are these three screws that you see right there. And the focuser works like butter for most of the time. But we have a write-up. So if you're having issues with your Evo Star, they used to be called Pro EDs. We have a write-up. All you have to do is write to Alex, and we will hand the PDF right over to you and show you how to do it. It's very easy. You only need a metric 2 and 2.5 hex screws or hex wrenches to make this adjustment. And it becomes very easy. But that's a very common thing. Let me bring Alex back. Boop, there's Alex. Hopefully his audio still works. But we have very simplistic write-ups like that to adjust that focuser because it's a very easy focuser and it will handle pretty much anything you want to put on it once the tension adjustment's done.
Yeah, and I send this out all the time to people, and it's really easy document to use. It makes perfect sense, and a couple quick adjustments, and you're gonna be running like butter.
There you go. Woo! Lord Helmet got a fish tank. Yeah, welcome to the club. I still have a tank. It's just out in the living room. It's all salt water now. I don't have any fresh water anymore. But yeah, just needed to clean this area up a bit. But yep, still have tanks. They're just not in the room anymore, and they're all salt water now. So switched over to the. If you've done astrophotography, you can do saltwater tanks. They're about the same level of technicality. So, next one. I have an EQ6R Pro. Unguided, I got 5-minute subs, no trails. Then I had PhD2 run its calibration, and now I can barely get 180-second subs. Could PhD2 have messed with my mount software?
You know what it probably is. It sounds like there might be some number off. Check one of the big things people do is the guider scope focal ratio. They'll put in it's a 50 millimeter scope instead of a 150. Could be something like that where we got some weird stuff going on. I would check the aggression on your RA and deck access. Also, check your shutter speed. I have guys that write into me that are guiding and trying to do 4-second exposures, and the mount just can't recover at a 4-second exposure when they're trying to make up the distance from where it was previously. we'd need to have like 125% aggression at 4 seconds to try to get it back because the mount's trying to work and it goes 4 seconds and it's got to move and then it goes 4 seconds and it gets that push notice. And so that could be another issue, just the exposure time.
Yeah, but there's no way PhD would actually harm the mount in any way, because the only
Right.
time PhD 2 or any guiding software is making any kind of change to your mount is when they're plugged in and running with each other. Once that's disconnected, it's irrelevant. So, um,
Yeah,
so
I would do the simple thing, just unplug it. Do your alignment, put it on a star, see if the star stays centered for 30 minutes. If it does, the mount should be tracking, and then you can try guiding again. You might have to redo the PhD2 settings. Something in there might have went in funky, and that's why it's having the issue.
yeah, I would just recalibrate it,
Yeah.
honestly. That's saved me a bunch of times. Even with a ZW ASI Air, sometimes it'll be just weird.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I've done calibrations halfway through the night. Like, okay, wait a second. All of a sudden, things are weird. Recalibrate it, and then the mount's running great again. So,
there you go. I have started a whole side conversation in this chat.
oh
It
boy.
went from saltwater tanks to expensive hobbies, which
We're both
I
guitar
have
owners.
way. Yep, we both play guitar. Mine are right here. I've got three sitting right here. I've got the fish tanks in the living room. We both have photography, astronomy,
Yeah. Well, it's
probably
funny.
others.
It's funny, kind of like tuning. Tuning's almost like dialing in your focuser, just getting it, because you can't just go right
Yeah.
to it. You gotta go back and forth to get that
No,
sweet spot.
that's exactly it. Where what? Forget it. It's right here. I'll just grab it.
We were talking, how long is this going to take before guitars pop out?
Yeah, if you're gonna be doing astronomy and you're dialing in a system, it's just like your guitar. You get your guitar, you maybe switch the pickups out, maybe you're going to different strings, maybe you're tuning to a different tuning. You have to dial in your system. You can't just go out the night you get it and, you know, suddenly everything just works. And then that's only the guitar side. So like the mount or the telescope side of things, we're still, you have effect pedals, you've got whatever else is in the chain. Just like guitar or any musical instrument, it's a whole system that's got to work together. And astrophotography is the same way. You have to piece it all together. That's
Yep.
also something I would recommend too. If you are writing in, um, you have to understand that there's a lot of different things that can go wrong besides the mount.
Yeah.
Because one thing that we notice a lot is the mount gets blamed quite often. And there are issues that do occur with your mount. And it might actually be the mount. But
There are so many other things it could be. Yeah. My mount won't guide. It won't guide, or it's guiding poorly. There's a difference there.
yeah,
We get, what could possibly go wrong? Cables. Um, Man, we got all kinds of cables, bad seeing, the focus on your guider, maybe your gain, the darkness of the sky. If you're in a light polluted area, you're not going to guide as well as in a dark sky location. That's just the way it is. Other things, it could be, did you take the lens cap off? I've done that. I don't have any stars. Why not? Oh,
I have had some
uh,
people who are just livid that they couldn't see stars. And we came around after having a very heated discussion on the phone. They didn't take a cap off. And 9 times out of 10, they won't apologize for it either. So
yeah.
but
And
it's simple things.
yeah, I mean, it could just be the connection between the guider scope and your computer. It could be, you could have a dirty lens on your guider scope, which is kind of making the stars soft, and the guider's trying to keep up with them. So there's a
Oh,
lot
that
of little
brings up
things.
a good point that we do get in tech support sometimes. Um, Dust bunnies. Like, my lens is dirty. I can see it on my images. If you're imaging and doing astrophotography and you're writing into us saying there's dust all over my image and your lens is dirty, it's not the lens,
Hmm.
because the lens, you do not get dust bunnies in an image unless it's near the sensor.
Right.
Um, you could have holes in your optic. It wouldn't matter, because unless it's the focus point and it's blocking light, there's no issue with the telescope. If you're seeing dust bunnies in an image that a flat has to get rid of, it's going to be on your filter, it's going to be on your camera sensor, it's going to be on the camera window, any of that. Yeah,
Just
get a blower bulb. So,
take off the camera, blow off the front, put it back on. You're probably good. Or a filter, same thing.
yeah.
The
Yeah, you
filter
don't even
wheels.
have to touch the glass.
Yeah, the filter wheels aren't sealed, so you do get dust and stuff in there, and you might have to blow that off as well. But normally, it's that little cover on the sensor that you see the dust bunnies on.
Yeah, so that is a big thing. We do get a lot of people who write in um, complaining that the lens is dusty and it's causing issues with their image. You may have a dirty mirror or dirty lens, but I can assure you that that is not what's causing the dust bunnies in your image. It's somewhere near the actual sensor of the camera. So good times. So,
Yeah, it always is. Always is.
I know there was a couple other things that we had talked about there as well.
Yeah. I having trouble with my alignment a lot, and I had one guy write in, and he decided to skip the polar alignment, and he did a 3-star alignment, including Polaris. Well, his guiding was off. We need that polar alignment. The mount needs to know exactly what direction it's pointed for the guiding to work properly. So all the data that your phone puts in, if you're using an app, or that you put in your hand controller, we need that polar position. And if you're doing astrophotography, a 2-star alignment would be nice. But once you get those done, those 3 things, your mount should run smoothly. So we can't skip a polar alignment and add Polaris. That just doesn't work. The mount doesn't have eyes, doesn't know where it's looking. So we need to tell it where it's looking.
Correct. Yeah, and your mount is only going. This is true for any equatorial from any company. Is your equatorial is only going to guide and track and locate as good as its polar alignment, because that's how they are initially designed to work. Is they go off of the pole, and if you are off a bit, you're going to start to see it. Now they are fairly forgiving, and guiders can pick up the slack within reason, but you still need to be polar aligned, and the tighter the alignment, probably the better working your mount is going to be. But we have had a lot of people who are not on the pole, and it causes a considerable amount of problems at that point. So do take your time polar aligning, and now it's gotten easier than ever. I mean,
oh, yeah.
All the Skywatcher mounts come with a pre-aligned illuminated reticle for the most point. And if it isn't, you can just shine a flashlight down in there. And then we do have a polar alignment feature. Once you've done at least a 1-star, we do have a polar align assist that becomes active in the hand controller, so you can go back and correct your polar alignment. Or there's a million other things out there, whether you use an ASI Air that has a really nice polar alignment capability, or a Pole Master. There's really no reasons not to have a good polar alignment nowadays. So.
Yep. Hey, another one I get a lot is my mount's making noise. So if your mount's groaning at you, we're going to start looking right at power. That's the first place we're going to look. But there's little telltales that we see when you send in to us that we focus on areas. So when I ask you, what are you using for power? Usually I get a 12-volt battery. So now we're going to do another round of emails. Can you tell me the make, the model, the voltage, the amps? And so we got to go on again about it. So if you got groaning and we're talking and we're adjusting there, that's where we want to focus on little things. So we may ask you some bizarre questions, but bear with us because we kind of have a formula and we're working through it.
Yeah, that's one thing. If you are dealing with tech support, is patience is important, because it's probably going to take a little bit of time to work through the issue. There's some data that we're going to need from you to just point us in the right direction, because we haven't been there on the nights that it wasn't working. So we want to make sure you get taken care of, but we need to know enough information to make that diagnosis of the issue that's going on, and see if that's something that you can either do there, which is preferred, or if we have to take the more invasive route, which means getting the mount or product back and having us work on it, which is also going to take time. So it is frustrating, but these are the steps that we work through to make sure it gets done in the right way. Let's see. It's also my understanding that polar alignment on Polaris is much better than a multi-star alignment. Yeah, if you can get dialed in on the pole to begin with, makes your alignment a lot easier. So just take some time to do that. I understand if you have in a backyard where you can't see Polaris and you're using an ASI Air or something similar, then that's different. But if you can't see Polaris, you should probably get over there and just do it. Where'd it go? There was another question. Do you sell a pure extension separately for the Star Adventure GTI, and under what situations would it be useful to have?
Yes. I don't think we currently have them in stock, but yes, we do normally sell the, you're talking about the little extension. Oh, something like this.
Yep, that is the pure extension that works on the AZ GTI, the Star Adventures, and the Star Adventure GTI. Let's see.
Yeah, they work great, and where I would use it is when you're using a little bit longer telescope. Try to keep the camera away from the tripod and the pier, and that's where it really is, where it's beneficial.
Yes. Yeah, it looks like we don't have them at the moment, but this is the pier extension. Adds about 8.5 inches or 220 millimeters or so of extension. And that'll help. It's also really good for low latitudes. If you're going to be near the equator, it's very helpful there. And yeah, the top pops off, thread it on. The new ones have that rubber top that has some grip on there, and then you just tighten it up. But yeah, there you go. So apparently High Point Scientific has some in stock. So
okay, good to know.
Didn't know, but sometimes you may have to bounce from dealer to dealer to find products that are in stock as well, because we are getting out of that whole COVID era of inventory problems. We're just to the point now where we're really starting to get to a good spot.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, about timing or what we have, you can always shoot me a message. I pull it up and look, and I can make a guess at when we're going to have the inventory going back out. We stock the brick and mortar stores first. We want to make sure that they have the product and they're supported. But once we have a decent amount, you can actually go to our website and find it at that point. But we do take care of our dealers first, so that's the place to look if you're not seeing them on our website. And like Kevin said, you might have to bounce around from some of the different dealers to find what you're looking for.
But a lot of dealers now have actually connected their inventory to their website, so you can just search really quick and they'll say yes or no. That'll make it a lot easier. And if you go to our website, you can also buy stuff direct. If it says add to cart, it's available, it's in stock. If it's not, then you have to go to a dealer. So still looking forward to the Skywatcher Hawaiian shirts. Come on, Jeff. We've talked about this. We need Skywatcher Hawaiian shirts. It's been stated. So I'll just go buy my own and embroider it myself. Let's see. What else? I know we got about 14 minutes left to go.
Hey, on power, I did notice the CQ350 likes about 4.5 amps. So that's something you guys want to think about if you're going to get a CQ350. If you're running at 12 volts, it's going to want 4.5 amps. If you're running a little bit higher, then it could be like 4 amps. But I was looking at the breakdown, and just something to point out, it's a fairly new mount, and we have people going out. I've had this conversation a couple times. So
yeah, so if you're going to be running it in the field, at the bare minimum, I'd probably look at like a Celestron Power Tank Lithium Pro, or bigger. And then if you're at home, Star Arizona sells these cool little adapters. I don't have one near me right now, but it's our thread-on, I think it's a CX12 or whatever our connector's called. It's an aeronautical
aircraft
connector. They make an adapter. I think they're like $15. Threads on, and then it gives you a 2.1 female on the other end. So then you could go get yourself, I use like 6 of them, they're laying around here, Celestron 5 amp AC adapter. Just plug that in and
You're gonna be
works
good.
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it needs some more power, you can always go higher in amps, but our mounts don't like when you go lower. You will actually damage it if you sit too low. I think we're between 11 and 16 volts for our most of our mounts, and they do like higher amperages. So you won't damage a mount that has higher amp requirements as long as you're using like a 12 volt. It could be 20 amps. That's just how wide the flow of that electrical river, if you will, is. But that doesn't mean you have to pull all the amps through. So it's only going to pull what it needs at that point. But if you run a mount too low, you're going to let out the magic smoke as it's known, and you're going to have to
Then
replace
you're
the
gonna have to
board.
call me.
Yeah, so
And those Celestron Lithium Pros, those things are awesome. I use one, and I can usually. So here's another thing: your mount, don't share power. Mount gets its own power. Mount's the most important thing. Mount needs its own power. You can run everything else on something else, but those Lithium Pros, I can run pretty much 2 nights the mount on one charge. That's the
there,
EQ6 in the field. So
yeah,
a bigger mount might take a little more power, but yeah, they're great batteries.
yeah. On the AZGTI, assuming we do a good 2-star alignment, how close should we be able to get our targets with the go-to? It's a little bit of a loaded question because we don't know what focal length that you're using of the telescope, but it should land it in the field of view if you've done it carefully.
Yeah.
But again, if it depends on your field of view of like if you're using the 127 Mac that comes with it, I think it would land it in the view. It just might not be dead center, but should be in the view. If you're using a short tube refractor that's like 400 millimeters, then it'll be well within the view. So it depends on how close your accuracy is going to be. Um, if you have a higher focal length scope, it's probably not a bad idea to get yourself just a crosshair eyepiece. That way you know that you're aligning on the star in the exact same spot every time, and that can help with your precision because you're not just leaving it to your eye to be like, yeah, that's in the middle. Now you actually have an actual point
Yeah,
to go
and
for.
Kevin and I both seen this. Look around the eyepiece when you're centering. Make sure it's actually centered, because what people think is centered a lot of times isn't even close. Kevin and I both have dealt with this. We look at an eyepiece and the star's way up here, and we're like, why is it up there? Because they didn't look around. They just had the star. They were happy, and they thought it was centered, but it was not.
Yeah, but a cheap little crosshair illuminated reticle eyepiece, like a 12 and a half,
Yep.
you'd probably be pretty tight at that point. With an AZ-EQ6, is there a method slash process slash so that I do not have to plug in GPS to the hand controller, wait for GPS to disconnect GPS when done, connect a serial cable? So, how do I use GPS a lot easier? Just get an app on your phone and type
Go
it
in
in.
there. Yeah.
That's what I do. I don't even use our GPS unit. Why? Because I literally have a phone with me most of the time, and it takes about the same amount of time for me to pull up a free app on my phone, look up the GPS coordinates, and just go boop, 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 done. And then I never have to touch it again. And that would be my recommendation for that. But the GPS does come in handy if you need it to be a little bit more snappy, or if you just don't want to deal with that and you want everything to just do it for you, then get yourself a GPS, but you do have to disconnect it when you're done and you want to open up that controller. But yeah, that's just use an app personally. That would be my method. So let's see, got 9 minutes left. I know there's another question here. I think the multi-star alignment is still good. You just have to make sure it's really sharp. You have less play than you would on a single. That was just a comment. Oh, do you guys have swag bags for star parties for sale? I do not. Any of our swag is at the skywatcher.threadless store. That's what you can get. Sometimes we do special runs of stuff that we hand out at events, but right now, just because we got back from doing 2, Neef and Texas Star Party, we need to reload our stuff in time for Ontario Starfest, which is coming up. And we're going to be hanging out with Trevor and Ashley from Astro Backyard at Ontario Starfest. So come by and say hi. But yes, we are loading up our stuff again. So we have swag to hand out at there because we have basically given away everything because Neef and Texas were quite busy. So
I'm gonna pop in something totally off topic. If you guys need
sure.
a part, shoot me an email. Photo of the part really helps my part guys, because sometimes people are like, I need that, whatchama, you know, the little thing that goes in that thing, and I'm like, can you send me a picture? They do. We find it, we send it. And but I wanted to also make a mention of our parts. We're not Amazon. It might take me a week to get the part out. Sometimes it'll take 2 or 3 days just to find the part. So give us some time with parts. We'll do what we can and try to get you all fixed up and back in business. So
That is a good point. So we stock a lot of the popular parts, like certain motorboards, like EQ6R motorboards, the big stuff. But if you call us and you're looking for some obscure little part or a spring,
or a
there's a
screw.
or a certain screw, unless I have something in the boneyard I can pick from, I might have to order it. And if I have to special order you a part, um, it's gonna take some time to get months to get a certain part. And we try to keep everything on hand that we can, but at some point it doesn't make sense to inventory every single thing, especially if it's something very particular that no one asks for. So unless I have something I can pull from, if I have to order it, you're going to be waiting a while to get it, or I can airship it, and you're going to be paying for air shipping from China, which is pricey. We've done it, but yeah, special parts, that's something. But yeah, if you need a part, please don't email. Be like the doohickey. Don't know what that means. Neither do my tech guys. Send us a picture being like, this is the part I'm looking for.
And
So much faster.
yeah. And sometimes I'll recommend an off-brand part, or maybe tell you, here's the part size. Go to Ace and get one, because that 30-cent screw, once I ship it to you, it becomes very expensive. Shipping has gotten ridiculous the last 2 years, and to ship you a 30-cent screw, it's if I can measure it and get you to source it somewhere else with something like that, I might ask you to do that. Don't be offended. It's just I'm trying to save you a bunch of money.
Yep. Yep. McMaster Car is your best friend. If you don't know what McMaster Car is, I suggest you look it up because they have all kinds of stuff that you might want or need. They're awesome for all kinds of screws and fasteners and blah, 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 blah. But we may even send you there. Yeah, thread checkers. We have those too. It makes life easier.
So when you guys
Yeah,
call and say, what's the size of that screw? I'll go pull one and measure it for you. What's the size of that end tube? We'll go measure it for you guys. We'll actually measure it for you and get you a measurement if we can.
Yeah, but if you can provide a very detailed, either what you need or better yet, a picture, it really simplifies and streamlines our stuff. Let's see. Do you have a toe saver bolt for an HEQ5? Probably get you one of those. Email support at skywatcherusa.com and we could probably get you. Toe savers are pretty easy and they're universal through most of the mounts. Could you give us some advice regarding finer polar alignment on the EQ6R? It should be a fine tune for those knobs. Oh,
you talking about just moving the knobs and stuff?
Yeah. Star Arizona makes a 3D printed handle kit for an EQ6R where the knobs are big.
Yeah, I have the big one on the back. Replace the ratchet.
It makes it a lot easier to get that fine adjustment. You really just need a bigger knob. The azimuth screws, if you look in them, actually have a hex head in there. You could get a long hex key if you want, and you can do fine adjustment that way. So that would probably be my recommendation.
Another thing is check the the tripod screw. If that thing is cranked down so tight that the azimuth doesn't want to move, that affects the polar alignment. So that bottom screw that actually pulls the head down to the tripod, you might have to back that off just a hair to get the mount to move left and right properly.
Last question. Can you spec the collimation screws for a 200p classic Dob if I want to replace with thumb screws? Um, yeah, we could probably get the thread pitch for that. I don't think we have that just floating around at the moment, but
Yeah,
you could email support@skywatchusa.com and we can get a hold of that specification. It just might take a little bit to do it. Again, that's one of those off the wall questions where it might take a day or two for someone to physically check
yeah,
that thread.
yeah. It might have to go be pulled off of one of our demo units and measured. I probably have a bolt out back I can measure. So just shoot me an email and we'll get you all dialed in.
All right, guys. That was our first tech talk. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with us. Alex, thank you very much. I know you've been busy, but thanks for hanging out.
No problem, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so if you guys like what you see here, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, lets us know we're doing a good job. Other than that, I hope you have a great weekend. It's a very thin crescent moon, so it should be nice and dark, probably after 10 o'clock now, almost. But other than that, we hope you have a great weekend. Next week, we're going to be talking to Simon Tang. He's our special guest, and we're doing solar astronomy, and I think he's going to even try to do live solar imaging and talk about how he processes and all kinds of cool stuff. So that'll be a very cool episode. So join us next week, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. Again, if you like the webcast, you can also get it in podcast form, wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and all that fun stuff as well. And then you can also head over to the skywatcher.threadless store to pick up some swag. There's one of our shirts right there. It helps support the channel, but we definitely appreciate all your help. And we will have Alex back on sometime next quarter. We'll get that going again, but I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys next week. So, all right, see you guys. Clear skies. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great
See
day.
you, Alex.